When I was a kid, I learned that my great-grandmother had cancer. I was worried for her. Even though at that age, I was preoccupied with watching YouTube videos or Barbie movies, I still wondered what could go wrong. And if things could go wrong, were people researching things in order to fix the problem? After talking to many people, including physicists, radio-oncologists, the dude down the street at the corner store that I buy all my snacks from, to doing my own research, I figured out that only a very small percentage of things can go wrong. Really, the only problems that occur are during imaging, after treatment, problems with the design of a machine, or if a patient decides to do something completely out of the blue, like jump off the table during treatment because they are scared. It's important to note that most things that can happen have probably already happened, like someone jumping off a table. There's an error reporting process where information is sent to a central database and people can see what went wrong. Basically, one person sees someone's mistake and goes like, "Yo, Barbara, look what this dude did. Ooh, Sophia, yeah, we should definitely avoid that." People want to make sure their products don't have the same problem. Problems with imaging are uncommon, as most pictures that they take are fantastic. I would know since I've gone to several galleries myself. But if something were to happen, it would be like seeing something unexpected or a false positive or negative. Problems can result after treatment as well. Specifically when talking about radiotherapy, healthy tissue will unfortunately always be exposed in some way and will result in a DNA strand break. Though this will result in problems down the line, doctors usually consider a risk-benefit ratio. For example, will sending this email to my teacher benefit me more than hurt me? The answer is no. Unless you don't have that teacher next year. My point is, doctors always have your best interest in mind. I would try not to worry about what could go wrong because cancer is something that is studied a lot and is very common, so doctors know how to help you in the best way they can. The actual process has many checks and balances in order to deliver dose to a patient successfully. There are checks and balances sort of like the government, except this process is more well-functioning. Let's go into a quick review of the radiation therapy process, which can be an example of how much work goes into any cancer treatment process. First, a doctor has a consult visit with the patient with previous imaging. Then there's more imaging after the consult visit in order to verify where the tumor is. So basically, everyone is working together in order to be like, yes, this is exactly where it is. Then we take all that imaging and send it to a dosimetrist. I'll have Julianne Pollard-Larkin, who works at the Anderson Cancer Center and is an assistant professor, describe more about that process.
Then we take that imaging information that we took and give it to people known as dosimetrists or treatment planners. So then they see, oh, this is where the tumor is inside of the patient's anatomy. How can I best use this linear accelerator to kill that tumor? So then they create all these different beam and gantry orientations using the linear accelerator model that we have in my favorite arcade game called Kill That Tumor, or the treatment planning system. And they design how to turn on the machine and shoot beams just like shooting a gun, at that tumor, and they come up with the way that we're supposed to turn on the machine in order to treat that tumor the best way to spare dose to anywhere else. Once they come up with that beautiful plan, then they have to translate it to the machine, because the machine doesn't speak the same language as the treatment planning system. So then they actually have to send it through an intermediary thing called a record and verify system. So then it gets the information from the treatment planning system, or that little game that I like to play, and then it says, okay, what type of code does the machine need to understand what you just wanted to do according to the treatment planning system? And so then it translates it, and then the treatment planning system talks to the record and verify system, and the record and verify system, it does a check of itself digitally and then sends that information to the treatment machine itself. At the treatment machine, then everything is locked and loaded. All bullets are set and ready to go.
So as you can see, there's a whole process in order to make sure that your treatment plan is completely correct and completely locked and loaded and ready to give it to you. To sum up what Ms. Pollard-Larkin said, you take the pictures and send it to a dosimetrist who creates every step of your treatment plan to be perfect. Just like the wedding planner makes sure every detail is perfect for the wedding, all the way down to the flowers. Every detail matters. Then we need to translate the plan to the machine through something like Google Translate, except more accurate. Way more accurate. And then we perform 2 more checks to make sure everything is ready. However, we don't actually start treating the patient yet. First, we use a fake patient called a phantom, like my man, Danny Phantom, to whom we'll shoot a bunch of radiation at. Anywho, we use the phantom in order to measure dose. We do that by putting dosimeters on the fake patient. Is the dose what the treatment plan asked for? If so, then yep, we're all ready to treat. Even during treatment, doctors may use dosimeters on patients in order to keep an eye on the dose and make sure everything is being delivered correctly. After treatment, there's a final check of the patient in order to make sure that the end result is what the doctors wanted. So as you can see, there's a lot of checks that are a part of the process. Again, there's a very small percentage of things that can go wrong, and the likelihood of those things happening is very small as well. Now, are people actually researching things in order to better the treatment for patients? The answer is, drumroll please. Yes, of course there are. People are always trying to make the treatment and experience better for the patient. A lot of research is based on combination. Just like how people try hot Cheetos and bagels or ice cream with fries, there are a lot of combinations that don't seem like they could work, but actually do. For example, there's the common combination of radiation therapy with chemotherapy. What's the best combination of them? Should we sprinkle only a little bit of this in or just throw in the whole thing? There's also a combination of imaging with therapy. There's the hope of imaging a patient while in treatment position and delivering the dose right away. This is helpful just in case the tumor has had a change since its last picture, similar to how your yearbook photo changes over the years, except with a shorter time frame. However, it is mainly helpful because then the doctors can align the patient in the exact position they need to be in order to deliver dose successfully. General research includes building better accelerating structures or technology in general that is smaller, more effective, and cheaper. Succeeding in doing this would mean that more people worldwide could have access to better care. In terms of size, it is better to have smaller machines so that hospitals don't have to spend a lot of money on building big rooms to fit them in. You know, the smaller the better. Except in Texas, apparently. Essentially, we want to build accelerating structures that differ the same way a Toyota versus Ferrari differ. A Toyota and a Ferrari are fundamentally the same. They're just toned a bit different, where one is made to be more efficient than the other. Plus, a Ferrari looks cooler, though you can never go wrong with a Toyota. There's also a lot of AI research. An example is using AI in order to detect lymphoma. AI in general removes human error and makes treatment standardized so that everyone has the same level of treatment. To put it in perspective, you can give one kid a lollipop and another kid candy corn. But, as we all know, a lollipop is way better than candy corn. So we want to try to give everyone a lollipop, and the best way to do that is through using AI. There are a lot of independent projects as well that are not with the trends, but they're just as important. I interviewed Michelle Svatos, who works in an independent consultant company and is an adjunct professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I will be letting her describe her research about infrared cameras.
My own research project is going on at Dalhousie University, and that one has to do with using infrared cameras to image the skin of breast cancer patients. And what we're going to do is image them every day, and every time they come to the accelerator, and hopefully see a very slow build of reaction on the skin. Every patient responds a little bit different to radiation therapy, so the hope is that we can take some of the guesswork out of where that patient is going to end up at the end of treatment, because it actually takes a week or two for the skin response to peak after radiation therapy is done. And so if you're going to make an adjustment, it's too late. But if we can make a curve that shows how they're responding, if we see that they're responding really fast compared to the average patient, then we can back off on their skin dose a little bit. And so we'll hopefully land them to a place where they don't get significant burns, they aren't in pain, they don't have other marks on their skin, and don't need any kind of additional medical treatment.
So to sum it up, research trends include combining things, building better technology, or using AI. Research in general revolves around making the patient's experience better. Whether it be making the process shorter or ensuring their safety, a doctor's top priority is the patient. However, I'm more interested in whether or not they're researching whether radiation can give me superpowers, because at this point, Marvel needs to pay me compensation for the fact that they've made me believe that I can gain superpowers by being bitten by a radioactive spider.